the end of Acts 6 and then going into Acts 7. This is amazing. I mean, I just love this. Look, there's a number of things I want to point out here. Look who were some of the ones who had a problem with his words, it says even. The Alexandrians. You know that the texts, the incorrect texts that most versions of the Bible are written from were monkeyed with in Alexandria, Egypt. Only the King James Bible is written from the Textus Receptus, which is meaning the received text. These were the texts that were from the originals that were copied over and over, the Textus Receptus, that is. But some dirty folk from Alexandria, Egypt, some of the folks who were in this band of characters that had Stephen stoned. Look, it says, "We have heard him speak blasphemous words." See? This man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words. They had a problem with his words. It even says that somewhere specifically. That's not crossing my eyes right here. It's hard to tell sometimes the Chronological Bible, Well, now here we go. It's like this come down through 1 through 7, and he carries on with 8, 9, 10. So probably shining the camera right on where it says it. Well, nonetheless, they had a problem with his words. Okay? Reminds me of Joseph also, who he spoke of here in his history that he gives of. It's such a great history, too, the way he rattles it off. But this part here where it says, they saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. Here he was wrongfully accused and taken before the council, and he didn't have anger in his heart. And just think how that must have influenced the one standing by. I know of one it influenced. Reads later in the chapter where they took their coats and their cloaks and they laid them at the feet of one named Saul, who, as of course we know, was Paul, the writer of most of the New Testament books. He was influenced by this face of an angel, as this guy was wrongfully accused. Isn't it interesting that when the high priest says, "Are these things so?" he doesn't stand up in his own defense and say, "Look, I'm only trying to do what's right before God. I'm just, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and, you guys just don't understand." No, he takes the opportunity to speak what he's been teaching right along. So he just goes on with this great history of Israel. And there's some really neat stuff, lots of neat stuff that I won't take the time to show all of it, just the things that come to mind here. One of the things where he talks about Moses, this part's great, as it all is, but see, he says, when the angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush. Listen to this, and check it with Exodus chapter 3. It's exactly the way. It says in James, "Draw nigh unto God, and he will draw nigh unto thee." Here, in Acts 7:31, is just as exactly as it's depicted in Exodus chapter 3. When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight, and as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him. It says it just that way in Exodus chapter 3 also. He drew nigh to God first. When he said, "I will now, turn aside and see this marvelous thing," or whatever, however it states it in Exodus 3. And then he turns to see it, and then God speaks to him. It's just amazing. And then how he goes on with, and for the first time as I'm reading this, I'm realizing, wow, the picture of the children of Israel forsaking God's covenant is just exactly what's going on here in this instance. He's talking about back in the days where they were shown these signs and wonders in Egypt, and that God released them. Now they still wouldn't believe. They wanted the calf. "Look, we want not what has become of this Moses." Here it says, "And they made unto them a golden calf and worshipped that, and God allowed them to do so." And the same thing's going on here. Here they just saw the wonderful signs and wonders of Jesus' resurrection. The people knew of it. this council was aware of it. There were the saints that walked about the earth after Jesus' resurrection. They must have heard this stuff. They just would not believe. They were in the desert, in their heart. See, just like this is just like God delivered us, delivered them from the bondage of Egypt. And they wandered through a desert place, and they still wouldn't believe, and then they made the calf. And God allowed them to turn away, just as these men of the council turned away and would not hear it. When Stephen started saying, "Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Ghost. As your fathers did, so do ye. Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? And they have slain them which should before the coming of the just one, of whom have been now the betrayers and murderers, who have received the law by dispensation of angels and have not kept it." They were like, "We're not going to listen to you." If you haven't heard this, please listen. I was going to tell you what part number it is. It's part 998 of the Chronological Bible, which means, of course, we'll be getting on with 999. But I hope you get to listen to that. Then we're going to be hitting 1000, part 1000, because it'll be Acts 9.